Hey, we're live. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. My name is Haim Cohen. I'm going to say that really slow. Haim Cohen. And I say that as a term of endearment because lots of you came to me at DEF CON and said hello. So I'm really, really happy about that. To all those parents who said that you got your kid listening to our podcast, your child to listen to our podcast, and you're learning stuff. We're really appreciative of that because that is awesome. I love to hear those stories. So yes, I was at DEF CON, and all the stories I heard, all the constructive criticisms, we are going to take to heart. And I guess we've just done this intro so many times, I just go right through it. But again, I'm Haim Cohen, and Tom is right there.
Howdy, everyone.
And so this may be a more visual show because I'll show off some DEF CON things. So if you want to go to the website, you can watch the YouTube video almost immediately after this is recorded, not published. So if you're the YouTube person, you can always go the day after. I don't know, 10 minutes after, it's probably done processing. You don't really need to see us in HD. Or you can I usually publish 7 a.m. on Tuesdays. So it's Thursday night. It gives me a couple days. And again, the new people, we usually publish 3 times a month. I mean, it's hard to get every day. We do have real jobs and everything else. So welcome. So Tom did not go to DEF CON, and Tom missed a lot. I will tell him that. I'm sure he was happy, but he was crying on the inside.
It sounded like it was very, very hot there.
Oh, it was miserable. It's like the gates of hell there. It's like 110, and I don't care what kind of dry heat it is. 110 is hot.
Yeah, I'm not at all interested in dealing with that.
So that's the only problem. But if you're looking for cheap, at least the hotel rooms at that point were still cheap, which we'll get into probably later on in the show. We'll go through some of the cool stuff. So again, it's the 26th DEF CON. Lots of cool stuff, lots of villages. If you've never been there, it's just they have a lot of just anything you can think of. And the big theme this year was badge life. So hashtag badge life, which people didn't understand what it meant. Badge life is not collecting all the badges. Now everyone had a badge. This was the volunteer badge for the Crypto Village. The other one was Blinky. So the idea is not to collect all the badges, but badge life is the failure of badges. It's the how do I get all these batteries shipped from China? How do they get the PCBs? What happens if it doesn't come in on time? What if it doesn't work? What do I do now? I ran out of money. What's going to happen? That's badge life. And I'm thankfully I want no involvement of that. There's no fear of missing out. I've seen the fear. I don't want it.
Yeah. So it's basically everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And there are deadlines.
Lots of deadlines. So for the Crypto Village, we will be a nonprofit. So if you, again, shameless plug, if you see us next year and if we do a badge and you buy a badge, you do not have to pay sales tax, and it is a donation that you can deduct on your taxes. So that's awesome. But again, if your badges your badges showing up Sunday or on Monday doesn't help. That means just all the money went down the drain because nobody is going to buy a badge the day after the conference ends.
Yeah.
So if you don't see, I think this is my favorite badge. It's a little not safe for work, but it's a picture of a reindeer, and it said expletive hacker summer camp badge or crappy badge 2018. And the funny part is on the back, the LEDs are literally taped to the battery to blink with some copper tape. No soldering required.
That is by far the favorite that I've seen.
So then you have a whole bunch of other ones, but everyone was making them. And again, you can go crazy looking for all the different type of badges. You can also hurt your neck by wearing all of them. So it's how cool are you by wearing all these badges? Well, they get heavy. Like they're not light.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how many did you end up with by the end?
So here, I'm going to just stand up for a second. So this is the actual Crypto Village badge. It blinks. So it's a maze. That's you. You're a dot in the center, and I'm touching it. So the gold is capacitive. Let it stop. So you're in a maze. So if you want to go down, you hit down. And this is what I was demoing to everybody. Now it's not. There we go. I'm hoping I hit a door. We'll do it one more time, and then we'll move on. And it was basically you're a maze, and I found some open field. But here is party mode, so it blinks and does all these cool things. The other part of Badge Life this year was the SAOs, or the expletive add-ons. Let's start with an S. So they made these 4-pin connectors at the top that you can plug in your own. So somebody brought a Krusty. There was Hypnotoad for the Bender badge, which I did not get, and all these other little cool things. So that's the first badge. I'm trying to get the DEF CON badge from my collection here. So this was the DEF CON badge. Now I'm yellow, so I'm a contest, but the other one was white. And again, 4 AA batteries, which weighed you a lot down. But basically, you connected to other badges, and you unlock the DEF CON that goes across. So it was different letters. And the idea was that you hook it up through USB, and it brings up a text. You open screen, which I'm not too familiar with on terminal, and it brings you up a text-based ASCII game that you can play through. So as you move the up and down buttons on the skull, it brings you up different pictures, and you have to try and solve the riddles.
Very nice.
Let's see. We have our Hacker Summer Camp, and this is just the top PCB board, but QueerCon is a group of LGBT people. I guess people, and they have their own badge that is very elaborate. The problem is it's like $500 or $600, but they made just a top board that basically got you into the parties. So they throw really cool, really awesome parties, and a lot of people want to be there, so their suite fills up. So for I think $15 pre-order, you got their badge, but their badge has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and just every radio in there, and there's a game where you have to connect with other people and everything else. They put a lot of money into their badge, and it is expensive for that reason. So
that is utterly ridiculous.
They had blockchains. They had cinder blocks on chains for the blockchain. They had dragonflies. Again, you can, if you go now to Hackaday and you search DEF CON 2018 badges, there's just going to be so many of them at this point. So you're going to start seeing them in the next few days. The problem is that you're wearing all this, and then you're trying to go through places, and you look and sound like Mr. T. So.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
So
I for one pity the fool that doesn't have, several different badges hanging off of them at any one time.
And then you have from the guys at Fake Security, blockchain lip balm. So if you go to on Twitter at Fake Security, fake_security, they have a whole line of security products, literal physical security products for you. So you can go.
That's awesome.
So again, that's part of it, and then they have all the villages. This year was the first time they had somebody. Her name is Mora, fixing badges. So if your badge broke, there was someone dedicated to actually fixing all the badges, which I thought was a nice touch. So you had to wait in line, but either way, you were able to get your badge fixed. Which if it broke, which some of them did, you need a reflash or whatever it is. Our Crypto Village badge had an OTA firmware update. We built in a Bluetooth radio to do OTA updates.
That is great.
The problem was that we couldn't install the secure certificate on the badge. So we had to use DEF CON Open, which I'll get to in a second. But the problem is that everyone just bought Wi-Fi pineapples and they flooded DEF CON Open with DAuth tokens.
Nice. Very nice.
look, DEF CON's trying to be inclusive of everybody. So if you're at all interested in anything that deals with security, I mean, just like literally anything, whether it's law, legal, blue teaming, red teaming. Is there purple teaming? I think there's a purple team now.
I always thought it was just red and blue. I mean, usually when you're a security professional, you work on both sides because you can't just be, you know, I mean, I guess you could be pure red or blue, but the best research comes from having a healthy knowledge and respect for both.
I mean, you want a biohack? They were doing implants into your palm, NFC implants, if you wanted, for like $65.
Nice.
So you can do that. I mean, crypto and privacy, we did a whole bunch of talks. We had a ton of puzzles. Hardware hacking, you bring stuff. They'll help you with your add-ons. Like just anything you can. Ham radio licenses, if you want, if you're into that. Lock picking. All these different things that they had. The ethics village. So.
What was that? The ethics village?
I don't know, but as my wife puts out, it's the loneliest village. Nobody's ethical.
Nice.
So just my problem is that I'm an organizer of the crypto village, and the problem is that I want to make sure it runs smoothly. So it's really hard for me to peel away and do anything. So how many talks did I see? I only saw 2, but that's because I was in the crypto village asking a bunch of questions or answering a bunch of questions. How does the badge work? Who did it? What are the answers to the puzzles, which I didn't have any, just different things, because collecting money, all these other things. So people actually came to me, which was really nice. So I appreciate everyone who did that. So, okay, we wasted more time than I wanted to on that, but our first story comes actually from DEF CON, and unfortunately, it's not about the voting village, which I do want to get to, but the encompassing theme of DEF CON is starting Friday night or Friday night, we were hearing reports that hotel security were going into people's rooms, which is a really scary thing. So people were putting the do not disturb sign on, and then all of a sudden they were coming back, and this is what first rumors started, that their stuff was moved. Then it progressed later in the day to stuff was moved and lockpicks were stolen and soldering irons. And people were speculating, well, soldering irons cause fire, but you don't just take somebody's property. Like, you take it down to the front desk. Like, you shouldn't do this anyway, but at least let them know. Don't let them find out that stuff was stolen. And then it got to, and we have actual evidence of this, is that they were going in and not, while people were there, not identifying themselves and doing what they called safety checks, which is, we're still trying to figure out all the information. But basically, imagine you're in your hotel room, someone knocks on the door, refuses to identify and just says security, and then proceeds to enter while you're in there, claiming they want to make sure that you're alive or not hurt or anything like that, when you have your do not disturb sign on.
Yeah, so they were specifically targeting DEF CON attendees. If you use the DEF CON discount code for your hotel room and you had a do not disturb sign on your door, that's who was being targeted. If you did not use the DEF CON code, apparently you weren't targeted from the things we've seen. But they, this is bad.
So they
I'm trying to figure out where to begin.
Well, let's start with, so in October of last year, a crazed gunman stood at Mandalay Bay, took an assault. I don't want to call it an assault rifle, a high-powered gun. I don't want to misrepresent it, and just started randomly firing at people, killing 57. Worst mass shooting in history type thing. And so sometime in January, they implemented a policy that says if you have do not disturb for more than 24 hours, the hotel reserves the right to enter your room to quote unquote visually inspect. The problem is I booked my hotel in October, so I didn't agree to this. And now I didn't put a do not disturb sign on. I did notice though that probably just general housekeeping, because I put my suitcase on the other bed, was some stuff was like moved around, but not in anything that was like suspicious. It was just It was just maybe they were just cleaning underneath it type thing. But I didn't lose anything. Nothing got stolen. But again, I didn't have a do not disturb. I did use the DEF CON room block though. And I was at Link, which was not Caesar's Palace, but still a Caesar's property. So they're just trying to keep everyone safe, I guess. The problem is if they're going in and not just visually inspecting, they're looking around, they're confiscating stuff, they're not identifying themselves. All of these open them up to huge legal liability.
Yeah, so there is a question of whether or not this is a Fourth Amendment breach. Now, keep in mind, this is a private property. These were private employees of the hotel, presumably, right? Yeah. We don't know that because they were using no authentication, no identification, and not even the front desk could validate that these individuals were part of the hotel staff. They might have been hotel employees. They might have been random people going to take lockpicks or, get into hotel rooms. Because it's DEF CON, breaking locks on hotel doors is, wouldn't really be that unusual. It would just make sense to me. Hotels are not known for their high-grade security when it comes to door locks. But under Fourth Amendment protections, and this has been ruled on before, a hotel room, you do have domicile-style protections as far as search and seizure goes. Now, whether that applies to hotel employees or just federal or governmental agents, I don't know. I am not a lawyer, but this is some of the things that have been floating around. Twitter, various places in social media, the tech blogs discussing this problem. It's very probable that there will be a class action lawsuit, as there should be. Now, why lockpicks and soldering irons were being stolen, it just completely evades me, right? If somebody is caught doing something illegal with the lockpicks, you deal with it then, right? You call the cops. You bring in the proper authorities to remove them from the premises. There's a lot of things you do at that point, but just having lockpicks, I need to look up Nevada law, but in many states in the U.S., just having lockpicks is not a crime. In some states it is. In some states you have to be a registered locksmith to be able to carry lockpicks. Soldering irons doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, sure, it could start a fire. So could candles. And were they taking candles or lighters or microwaves that somebody could get something too hot and maybe sit a really hot bowl down on a plastic surface and melt it a little bit? Like there's a lot of damage you can do to hotel rooms that a soldering iron is probably the worst way to go about destroying a hotel room.
I can see a soldering iron if it was plugged in and on, like somebody left it.
Yeah, like I get that. Or, yeah, sure. Maybe unplug it. Maybe that's the best answer. But yeah, sure. Okay. They could take it, I guess. Teach that person a lesson for leaving their soldering iron on.
I went through TSA with lockpicks. Most people did. It's not a big deal. I've never heard anyone getting arrested for lockpicks. So again, I don't know why they sell them at DEF CON. It's not like this taboo thing. Soldering irons, I don't know like what their things are. The problem is that in one of the cases, a female was in the room and they're knocking on the door and she's calling the front desk and saying, "Why are people at my door?" And the front desk is saying, "Well, they're checking up on you, but we won't authenticate them," type thing. Like just really strange. Like, why are they doing that? And the problem is what do you do in that case? I mean, like, honestly, people are coming into your room. You could have just come out of the shower. You could have done, you could be doing other things and doing wellness checks. If they're wellness checking, you're clearly showing that you're okay. Maybe human trafficking. Maybe that's what they're worried about.
Honestly, this is just, it's flavor of the week type stuff. They'll make any excuse they can in the name of security, right? If somebody wanted to, take guns to DEF CON and cause a lot of damage, right? They wouldn't have to, lay them out on the bed of their hotel room. From everything we've heard, some of these people walked into the room, did a 360, looked around, didn't even like search or anything, and walked out. They weren't actually inspecting anything. They were just making sure that I don't know. The whole thing is security theater, right? You could have hidden the guns, you could have them in your bags. They weren't going through things in some cases. If you really wanted to cause damage, hide the stuff in your car. You also have constitutional protections in your vehicle. I mean, it reminds me exactly of the TSA, right? This is a knee-jerk response to fear. It doesn't actually do anything except upset a lot of people and give, some people some jobs that are literally worthless, right? It only causes damage. It doesn't actually help us or make us more secure. This is security theater at its very worst.
And at least people were like, you're going after the DEF CON attendees. People were saying, are you sure? Prove identification, which they couldn't do because they didn't think people would be asking. And it's like, guys, you're dealing with DEF CON people. That's the only thing they're going to do. They're going to verify, they're going to authenticate and do all this other stuff. And I'm sure if you ask nicely, like you said, hey, can we come in? We have ID. You can see it through the window and everything else. And you can call the front desk. Like if you did your job, first you wouldn't need to come in at that point. But most people would probably say, yeah, we're okay. If it's really for health and safety or whatever it is. But it clearly wasn't. So I'm trying to find some people to do like a special show sometime in the future if we get about this, who know a lot more about it and maybe versed in legal opinions on this, maybe that can discuss this more. Because look, I'm on the belief that if you're staying in a hotel, the hotel should have some sort of legal recourse. And I know there are other people, and Tom's one of them, and said, nope, we don't care. And I don't know what that middle ground is. And because I really think that you're going 6 days at a conference and you have the do not disturb on for 6 days. I think there should be some sort of like, hey, are you okay after day 3 or whatever it is? And Tom was, just wait till the 6 days are up.
Yeah. So, if you really want a health or wellness check, right? If there are complaints, I mean, in the absolute worst case, if somebody passes away in a hotel room early on in the trip, right, they will be found. It's not like they just live there forever because they hung a do not disturb sign on, right? Eventually the bills will stop being paid. Eventually they will miss their checkout date and somebody will go check on them, but probably before then, right? It's not like we leave dead people laying around. There are, plenty of sensors we could use to detect the presence of individuals who aren't necessarily with us anymore. If I'm, going to be very delicate about the subject. But in that case, you can, call in the literal police to do a health and wellness check. Sure, you could have hotel employees do that, but you might be overstepping your bounds and your rights there. It might be, right? It might be in the contract you sign. Like there are so many variables to this problem. It's hard to say anything for certain. What we do know, though, is that the DEF CON head of security operations, Mark Rogers, has actually written up his resignation. And he said, hey, if the community wants me to resign over this, then I will. He had no idea that this was happening. He feels both betrayed and extremely embarrassed about this entire situation. And I don't want to fault Mark. I don't know the situation. I mean, there's a lot of different variables there. I don't think calling for someone's head this early in the process is really the best thing. But that said, good on Mark. He's facing, these challenges up front. He's doing what he thinks is necessary. He's not being bullheaded about the whole thing. He's keeping, communication open, honest, transparent, literally everything you want from the person who is in charge of security at this conference.
I don't think he's going to resign. I think he's offering it, which is the right thing. That right now DEF CON is in talks. Here's the problem. More than 30,000 people showed up. You can't just say right now, next year, okay, Caesars, we're done with you. We're taking our ball and going home. Where are you going to fit 30,000 people for 4 days?
You could, right? There are lots of conferences, there are lots of concerts, there are lots of gatherings that have a ton of people. DEF CON is not the biggest event the world has ever seen.
You got to hotel the problem is you got to hotel these people, and they do sign contracts. So next year it is at back at Bally's in Paris and some of Planet Hollywood. Paris and Bally's are connected. That's where it was 2 years ago when something happened and everything else. They're still Caesars properties, but I have a feeling that before anybody books a room there, DEF CON's going to issue a statement saying, this is the policy going forward. They're going to have to issue something, because then all these people are going to want to go. They're going to go off the strip. They're going to go somewhere and this is the next thing that everyone's going to check. The next thing is, if I put a do not disturb, are you coming into my room and under what conditions and anything else? This is going to be, like you said, a class action lawsuit, at least to get a policy down.
I honestly think that, and I'm not saying anything that the people at DEF CON don't already know, right? DEF CON isn't run by idiots, right? These are smart people that have been doing this a long time.
I will say no comment to that, but yes, you are
okay.
Correct. You are correct.
But I'm not going to say anything here that isn't already being said, behind closed doors and in public in some cases. But DEF CON should look at what a contract break would cost, right? To say, hey, look, Caesars, you absolutely violated the trust of our conference goers, and we're out, right? It's probably going to be stupid expensive, right? They might not even be able to afford it. It might not be an option, but at least you can tell the community, yes, we looked at this and here's why we can't do it, or here's what it will mean if we do. Being able to present, your information gathering and all the evidence you've acquired, and your decision based upon that evidence will go a long way to regaining the trust of your conference goers. Because right now, I wouldn't want to go to DEF CON, tomorrow because it's stupid hot, and I do not do well with hot weather at all. But if it was in my backyard, I don't know if I would want to put up with this type of drama. I usually don't keep things in my hotel room, but this seems like an awful lot of trouble.
It is. Look, Vegas was initially started because they have very strong hotel protections, and now they don't. So now I think there is a very strong surge to say, what can we do? And they've come out and said, look, we have 2 years left on our Caesars contract. That was the first statement. It's not going to be at Caesars. They're moving to a different property. But Vegas is already corrupt as it is. So if they're going to look to move, it's not going to be for 2 years unless something comes up. Like they come out, they find that they can break it, or they're going to sue and win, or whatever it is. But it's going to be in Vegas at least for the next 2 years. I hope they move it. I'm done with Vegas. There's for all the people who live there and love it, I get it, but it's hot. Everything's super expensive on the strip. You can't get anywhere. Let's move it to a more convention friendly city. My choice is Orlando. I would love to go to Orlando.
I hear that Seattle is a pretty friendly place.
It's expensive. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is. It totally is.
They did a rundown. It's like New York City is $250 a room per night, and Las Vegas is $90.
Yeah.
Seattle's probably in the $150. Same with San Francisco and everything else. But I say Atlantic City, but no one's going to go there. I get that. Let's
go somewhere in South Dakota. Let's pick a random town in South Dakota and shove all the hackers there.
I mean, Sturgis gets like a ridiculous amount of people for 4 days. I'd go there.
Yeah.
North Dakota.
I'm a fan of take some podunk place surrounded by cornfields. I used to live here. I can call it that. Urbana, Ohio, right? I don't even think they have a McDonald's there. I mean, they might now. I haven't been back in a very long time, but it's a teeny place. Let's put DEF CON in Urbana, Ohio. Hack the fields. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not even saying, what about Vancouver?
Vancouver would be great.
I mean,
And it would get you away from wouldn't completely alleviate this issue, but you would get rid of some of the fears that some international hackers have about coming to the US for a conference. Canada tends to be a little bit friendlier politically. That said, they do have extradition laws, so if you're one in the US, you're probably getting shoved over from Canada anyway.
but you're not going to be randomly detained.
Right.
The Seychelles, I heard meetings go on there in the Seychelles. Dirt on opponent on Oppo like Oppo research goes on there. I don't know, but I hear things.
Someone
the Amazon warehouse, an Amazon warehouse for 30,000 people.
It can fit a lot of packages. I really wish I'm looking through our WhatsApp group right now. You should totally join.
If not only just to see the scavenger hunt. So if you don't know, DEF CON does a scavenger hunt, and it's not normal things. Some of it is not safe for work. So I put the tweet in there, but we are over time. So
yeah, I'll let you know that the CCC, the Chaos Computer Club, I believe, is in Germany, and you can absolutely attend those conferences. It's not a U.S. conference, and I don't think anyone searches your hotel room. So if you want to head there, they do stuff every year, and it's usually hotly celebrated. I'm going to keep this person anonymous just in case I don't want to be named on the podcast. But if you want to join the conversation, our WhatsApp group is always open.
So we'll leave you with that. I am trying to find some people who know a little more about the room searches that can give us a little more of an expert opinion. Hopefully I can get them on next week, or we'll do a special show on it. We did have actual news, but we will get to that next week. And good, it'll give us something to do next week. So anyway, we'll see everyone next week, and have a good rest of this week.
See you, everyone.
Bye.